What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream. It's good to see people liking, and already got 3 people in, which hopefully we grow that number a lot more. But welcome back to the channel. For those of you joining us for the first time, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And if you're joining us in the live stream, guys, please get in the live stream and talk with us. That's what makes these the most amount of fun, getting to interact with everybody and hearing questions, and very exciting. So for those of you guys that don't know how this works, what we typically do is the title of this live stream. Let me turn that off. The title of the live stream is actually what we fill kind of the gaps with everything. So we're going to be talking about the best 6.0 Powerstroke mods, which is obviously a very big topic. We're going to look at it from a couple different perspectives. And also we're going to be getting to your guys' questions. So it's a very interactive thing. And basically I use the title to fill the dead space in between everything. Nick, what's up, everybody? Motorsports, how you doing, man? Again, guys, those of you just joining, get in the live stream, hit that like button. I clearly did not turn my volume off. Let me get that so that's not interrupting us the whole time. So it's great to be back, guys. This is, I believe, our second official live stream since coming back, so a lot of fun here. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start talking. As you guys have questions, please drop them in the live stream. Don't forget to hit the like button. That's a big part of what helps make this work. So best 6.0 Powerstroke mods. Not all of these are going to be specifically modifications. And also, guys, how's my audio coming up? If someone could let me know in the live stream how everything's sounding right now. Again, we have a very new setup, still kind of working, fine-tuning everything, so to speak. Audio 9 out of 10. Well, how do I get a 10 out of 10? Okay, guys, so I'm going to go with my number one thing to do to your 6.0. You just bought a 6.0 Powerstroke. You've heard all the disasters. What do I think you should do? The very first thing might be my speakers. I'm getting judged on your speakers. My laptop speakers are actually atrocious. I actually have a really cheap set on this. You guys will see a video coming soon about the build of my very first PC and my whole streaming setup here and what I edit on. But get a new set of speakers, maybe something with some bass so you can really hear me clearly. 6.0. So you just got a 6.0 and you've heard about how much fun they can be. You've heard about all the horror stories, which is actually a lot more likely than the former. But the number one thing I think you should do, get a monitor. 90% of your issues with 6.0 Powerstrokes and the horror stories is getting a monitor and learn what to monitor on your truck. Obviously not the most fun thing to do because it doesn't make you go any faster. It doesn't get you better fuel economy. But most of the horror stories with the 6-liter can be rectified before they're an issue. Oil coolers, you can understand when they're on their way out, when they should be changed in advance. That's one of the most common issues, which again, also changing out your EGR cooler at that point, which can help reduce the instances of blown head gaskets. So that's monitor is vitally important. It can help you capture, I'm sorry, drawing a blank. I'm still a little rusty. It can help you pick up high pressure oil leaks. That's what I'm struggling to say. High pressure oil leaks before they actually become an issue. And that's a big one too, because nothing is worse than being on a trip, especially with your family, and you break down 100 miles from your house, or even worse, 600. Like there's a trip some of you guys know I go on regularly, or at least I should say annually-ish normally. That's about 600 miles away from my house. Well, it becomes much harder to work on a truck 600 miles away from your house, especially with a camper hooked up to it as well. So I think this is one of the biggest things you can do. We'll get into some fun modifications as well and what I think about them, because I kind of have like the big 3 as far as power modifications for your 6-liter. But I do want to spend some time and really kind of talk about monitors. And guys, you can come in, join the chat. Let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know your intake or questions. You guys, I'm here to answer as many questions as possible. So please do not hesitate to get in this chat. Looks like my audio is good. Having your baby get truck napped would be awful. And just to be clear, we're talking about vehicles, not actual babies. I guess that does happen too, which is horrific. We're not getting into that, but having your truck taken, man, that's tough. I would be in a pretty foul mood. making sure I'm covering the label here. Don't want to get any copyright infringements on my drink. So let's see here. You have a 2005 350 complete stock, zero mods. It's low mileage, 60,000 miles. What needs rebuild on it? Like, what did they do? They damage it? Is it still in good shape, or like, what's the overall condition? Or was it something that maybe needed some stuff? Although at only 60,000 miles for an 05, that's wild. If I stopped driving my 6.7 today, I probably could still make that happen at almost a 20-year-old truck having only 60,000 miles. We're not quite at 50 on mine. So yeah, getting a monitor, learning what to actually monitor on the truck is probably the best modification, not the most fun. We're going to get into the most fun modifications here as well. So things to monitor first, I would definitely keep an eye on your Ficm voltage. That's very important. When it starts getting below 47, even on crank, it needs to be addressed. You can also monitor your batteries while you're cranking to see if they're on their way out as well. That's a very important one. A lot of people miss, which can actually also take your Ficm out, which if your batteries are dying, your Ficm's basically an amplifier, or basically nothing. It's an amplifier, 12 volts in, 48 out. ICP voltage, then find the pressure correlation, and IPR percent are some of your most important ones to monitor. There's also stuff for VGT, your oil and coolant as well. But let's get into some of my favorite fun modifications. And what's funny when I get into my 3 favorite mods is that they all do the same thing in different ways, which is kind of hard to explain unless you've driven a truck that's done these things. So probably the easiest thing, in my opinion, to swap out and improve on a 6-liter is a turbo, which I'm going to use this point to give a big shout out to Turbo Time USA. 6 Obros for 5% off your turbochargers. Go check those guys out. Link down in the description. That is an affiliate code as well, just so everybody knows. But excellent people to do business with there. A turbo is one of my favorite things. I did a turbo before I did injectors. And for anyone that tells you can't tell a difference, they're just wrong. You're not utilizing the turbo fully. Don't get me wrong. However, to say that there's no difference when you get a bigger turbo put on your truck. Now, obviously, there'll be a point where it's too big and it's real laggy and that won't be fun. But going to like most people's stage 1 to stage 2s can run on stock injectors really well. And you can really feel it in the top end. Down low, you might pick up a little bit of lag if you don't have bigger injectors or you're not running tuning, which I know tuning is really going more and more by the wayside, unfortunately. Thank you, EPA, for ruining our fun. But truthfully, up top, when you feel how much harder they pull up top, it's really kind of cool. And I'm a big fan of turbos. Turbos are probably my overall favorite upgrade to do to like a regular truck. I would, if you're keeping stock injectors, in my opinion, Turbo Time USA stage 1.5, it's a 61 millimeter wheel, 10 blade exhaust housing, is a perfect upgrade to these trucks, and it's a lot of fun to drive too. Even on stock injectors, even if you're not running a tune, you can still tell a difference. Obviously, to take full advantage of it, running that tune is just an entirely different story on these trucks. Let's see here. I have a 2005 350, bought bone stock from the original owner, replaced ICP, shocks, diff cover with the 6.4 starter, blue wire mod, wheels and tires. The blue wire mod is actually a really good one that we should talk about at some point during this, because I think it's one of the, I want to say it's probably one of my top 2 favorite towing modifications that you can do. To be clear, I'm saying that without having done it to my truck, but understanding how it works and what it does, I think is just a huge, huge change for people. We will motorsports in 1 second. We'll get back to you. We'll talk, because I did ask a question probably while you were out on the call, but I am interested to hear about your truck. So blue wire mod, for those of you guys that don't know what it is basically off your fan clutch wiring harness. So they're electrically controlled on a 6-liter and to current day, as opposed to the 7.3 did not have the same style. It was a temperature driven thing as opposed to a computer driven thing. So there's a blue wire, thus blue wire mod, in that cluster, and you splice into it. And I forget exactly how you hook it up. I believe you hook it up to a relay switch. And what you do is you can actually command your fan speed to 100%. I do wish you could command it to like 50%. Like I wish you could kind of control it a little bit more, but you can command it to 100%. Why this is actually a really great thing for those of you guys that have never pulled. My camper is far from the heaviest. It's a fair amount of weight, around 13,000 pounds, but it's far from the heaviest. But if you've pulled that off up an extended grade, it takes a little bit of time for your fan clutch to really kick in. You can control it prior. So you can actually get your temps down further and then start climbing your hill, which will give you much better temps going up it. So you'll be able to stay in the truck longer. So you hopefully can maintain speed. And depending on what grade you're going up, that can be obviously varying levels of difficulty, but you'll keep your truck much cooler. You can even get cooler exhaust temps through this, as it has to pull air through your intercooler. So if it's pulling more air through to help lower your coolant temps, it's also going to work on your exhaust temps. Now, obviously, your exhaust temps maybe not quite as much, but still leave an impact. Again, I've not done this, but knowing what it is, I think the Bulletproof Diesel fan clutch mod is stupid. I'm not saying it's not really nice parts that they're dishing out. I just think the idea of it is stupid. So I would not recommend that, honestly, to anybody. There is a level of change in your tuning that they can kind of help in tow tunes. I've had tunes that kicked it on a little earlier, and I've had tunes that kicked it on later. Now, a lot of people say they can't do much with it for some reason, but I don't know how much that's true because I've had tunes do different things while towing. But again, do a blue. Both of them are going to leave you with a soft code on your truck. So there'll be when you go to pull up your codes, there'll be one stored on the computer. However, it doesn't turn your light on the dash on because it's not like a major thing. And on top of that, I just don't like the ability that it just kicks on more. The 7.3 fan clutch doesn't pull in as much air, and it turns on at a lower temp. So I just don't like it. I also don't think the cold weather mod fan clutch is worth it either. So, guys, I do want to say one thing. For those of you just joining us, don't forget to hit that like button, where I want to try to make this live stream even bigger than last week's live stream. I'm really trying to steamroll ahead here as we get content back out to you guys and start really doing these live streams again. We used to have a lot of fun here. So please don't forget to hit that like button and get down in the live stream. I really want to interact with as many of you guys as I can and have a good time tonight. So I'm a little behind here. I could see the blue wire mod changing your life, Jeff. That's definitely a very good possibility. I think it's probably one of the most underrated towing modifications anybody can do, that being second only to airbagging your truck. If you haven't towed with airbags, that for me, airbags changed my life. I can't tell you how much I love airbags on a tow rig. So, Motorsport, I wanted to ask, you had made reference to needing to rebuild your truck. What's wrong with it? Like, what happened? I know you said that it was stolen and you just got it back, but what's wrong with it? Did they do something? Was there something you wanted to fix on it to begin with? I'm just very interested in hearing about that. You don't hear about many 2005 350s with only, I believe it was 60,000 miles on it, and it's bone stock. If I had more money, I would buy your truck, because I think that's awesome. I mean, a 60,000 mile 350. I don't even know that I'd do much to it. I feel like I'd want to keep it more as original as I could. I'm sure I'd change some stuff, but I wouldn't want to go crazy. So let's see here. The cooler the air charges, the better the air. That's true. So not only with the blue wire mod, when you're commanding it, I wouldn't recommend it when you don't need it. There's no reason to run it just for fun. But when you do need it to keep your temps down, it will increase your air density. So it will give you additional power as well. You're going to be able to more completely burn the fuel in your truck while you're towing, which can be very important. Limit that black smoke output that upsets every tree hugger that doesn't know what they're talking about. Yeah, definitely a really cool modification that I don't hear many people talk about. I don't see it a lot on the forums when I get on them. I haven't been on them as much because it's just kind of been very busy. But I do plan to slowly start getting back on. So those of you guys that are on some of the Facebook pages and stuff will probably start seeing me pop back up. Guys, also, again, we're at 15 people. Don't forget to hit that like button, guys. We want to make this our biggest stream yet. Let's see here. Let's get back into the comments here. It was meant with no mods. The thieves just rode it very hard. Body's not bad, but they drove it hard. That stinks. So it sounds like you have just a lot of stuff to replace on it that may have just worn out from people being jerks. That really stinks, man. I hate that for you. But at least you get some cool, hopefully shiny new parts on that truck. And we do have, I'm trying to think. There's a whole front end video that I do on a 2015 F250 that, while some of those parts will be different, I have like I have videos going over ball joints, wheel bearings, seals, that whole shebang, and then all the tie rod ends and stuff as well, steering drag link, all that being replaced on another video. It's probably 35K with 60,000 miles on it. Yeah. With 60,000 miles on a 6-liter, man, you really could command some money. You made a video on the recovery on my channel. You can see the carnage, but it runs well. Just cooked the brakes and vandalize it. What goofballs. I hate that, man. I hate when people take something and beat the crap out of it. That sounds like a really cool video to go check out, or series to go check out here for Motorsports channel. So guys, after the live stream, go check out our buddy down here and check out the rebuild of his 2005 350. That sounds pretty cool. Blue spring upgrade. Blue spring upgrade's great. New upgraded EGR, nicer exhaust from under the hood of appearance. Yeah, no, I definitely like, there's something subtle and awesome about keeping a relatively factory truck. I'll never do a live stream without somebody bringing up Sinister Diesel. It's never gonna happen again. I do have opinions about that. We'll get into that shortly. So Motorsport, I love a very factory looking truck. One of the coolest trucks, I've gotten to see a lot of 6-liters, and a lot of people send me stuff about theirs. One of the coolest ones was an almost entirely, like, to understand it wasn't stock, you had to really know what you were looking for. It was a 350 dually. A guy came out. He unfortunately sold it and has a Cummins 3500 dually now, but it was just a really clean truck, and he had coolant reroute stuff from like the back of the cylinder heads, and they actually run them forward and tap them into the thermostat housing. Just a really cool, clean build, but you had to understand what you were looking for to realize some of the stuff he had on there. And it looked pretty much factory. It was one of the coolest builds I've ever seen. So there's something to it if you're doing that. Sorry, I keep scratching something on my leg and cutting it open, so that's a lot of fun. Let's see here. Do I have an opinion on the Sinister Diesel Blue Spring versus the OEM? Yeah, get the OEM one. There's no reason to waste your money on the Sinister Diesel one. I don't know if it's more expensive or not, but just get the factory one. Messing with your fuel pressure, like if you'd be looking at the Sinister Diesel, I hate that I know this much about their parts. If you were looking at like their adjustable fuel bowl, it's really tempting to kind of try it. It's not a true, like, it doesn't get rid of the factory dead head where it's dead in the head. It doesn't address that issue. It is a nice feature in the ability to adjust your fuel pressure a little bit, but in the scheme of things, it's not really that great. It's not doing that much. Most people running that modification have a relatively factory truck, or at least at a point where they don't have to really mess with fuel pressure. Do a factory blue spring mod, call it a day. As far as a lot of the really cheap Chinese kits out there, I've seen tolerances all over the place. I've seen some of the Chinese blue spring kits run very high PSI, like over 75, which is where you have to actually worry about internal damage to the O-rings. So you can end up with leaks, with premature failures of your injectors, which is a big problem, especially if you just bought a new pair of injectors. That's a big problem. because they're not fun to replace. And at that point, you might be likely, especially if you see like 3 fail, you might be likely for that injector builder to kind of question what's happening, because they're not rated for more than 75 psi. And I do get people sometimes that really give me a hard time on this. I've talked to more than one injector builder that has said 75 psi is the limit of what they're designed to tolerate. So you don't want to really be over that. I know in the winter on my truck with the fast fuel system, in the Blue Spring mod, I was over it. Now I'm going to do a regulated return on it, so it's not really a big deal. But in the scheme of things, if I wasn't planning to do that, I definitely wouldn't be going forward. I would address that concern now. But since I'm going to do that, I'm trying to think how I would address it, because I don't have the original spring, fuel pressure spring. I hate to say it, I'd probably cut a very small portion of it off. It's easy to get to and mess with, so it's not a big deal, but I'd probably cut very, very, very small portions off until it got down a little bit lower. So 45 psi under throttle is your minimum that you need to see on your truck. And again, max 75, and ideally you're in the 55 range. There's been some people that have tested not just fuel economy, but also power numbers that they're making. And between 53 and 56 is what I saw most people seeing the best all-around performance between most horsepower and best fuel economy, decreased smoke, overall better drivability. Now, some of that might be nitpicking, so don't expect to go from 45 psi to 53 psi and expect it to feel like a different truck, but it can make a difference nonetheless. But yeah, I do not support pretty much any Sinister diesel product. They have maybe one product that I can openly say intrigues me, but I can't buy it because I just don't like them. I think they're overpriced, and it just frustrates me. Truthfully, that company frustrates me. I'm not saying they're necessarily bad people. I do think in some instances, I think they have some less than appropriate turbo sales tactics. And if anybody from them ever saw this, if they want to send me whatever turbo they're selling people, I would more than happily do that. Or better yet, if they were willing to reimburse me buying one to test and basically do it anonymously, that would be my ideal. I'd love to test an anonymous turbo from them so that they can't, cherry pick anything, because I actually have my doubts about the overall quality. At least for the cost they're charging. But let's move on a little bit here. Flexlight fans suck for towing. No, they're terrible. They're really a racing thing. I do not advocate anybody use them unless you're racing and you're trying to get the lightest setup out there. I know a guy that put a bunch of them on the real thin Mishimoto radiator. That's garbage again for towing. But from a racing standpoint, where you're doing a quarter mile pass and you don't need to, you ideally are in it for 13 or less seconds. I mean, I've never run a 13 flat or less, but people that are racing do it all the time. Motorsport, where are you at that you're away for work, man? Where in the world are you, so to speak? I don't have anything sinister on my truck. I've heard most of it's just propaganda. Just curious. Yeah, Jeff. They have done an excellent job of marketing for people that aren't like regularly following the in the diesel community. So Sinister Diesel is a pretty recognizable name. I think in some essences they've kind of really followed suit with the whole EPA stuff. And I mean, if you're going to be in the industry, you can't help but kind of understand it's there. I have a series of videos I'm planning with the new sponsor DSD, where we're going to basically be tearing down emission stuff and putting it back on a truck. We're going to do this on the 6.7, where we show you guys how to replace your DPF, where basically you just buy a DPF and you put it on yourself instead of paying a dealer, which would be much cheaper. Same with a lot of the EGR components. The EPA is getting harder, and I want to make sure I'm saving people the very expensive shop bill. If they do it themselves, they can save some money. And that's just one thing we're planning. So you can't like completely stay away from these guys, but at the same time, I do struggle with some of what they do, or like how they've harassed people about the color blue. They own the color blue. Honestly, in my opinion, the fact that anyone's still trying to use the color blue after they've put their name all over it is absolutely, like, they should just be thrilled if somebody would confuse a part with theirs. What can keep oil temps down while pulling up hills? Temps can get into the 240s. So the one thing I want to say is 240 isn't awful. First and foremost, it's hot. Don't get me wrong. What's up, OJ? Don't get me wrong. It's not, it is hot, but we're not destroying the oil. Will it degrade faster if we stay at 240 for the entire time? Yes. So there is a couple different things we can do. First, if you have an older radiator, one thing I've seen is these radiators get kind of clogged up with junk. So you can either pull it out and try to flush it out really well and get all the junk out of it. The other thing would be to replace it with a new OEM one. I've replaced it with the upgraded Mishimoto one, and here's what I found. It performed exactly the same to my 180 plus 1,000-mile OEM radiator. I saw no increased benefit from it, or at least very slight. I mean, it's hard to tell now, but my assumption is if I had a brand new OEM radiator, there'd be virtually no change. The only people that have seen true increases in performance using the upgraded Mishimoto one. Now, it looks really nice, but the only people that saw a true performance gain were people that had clogged radiators to begin with. So that's the first thing you can do. The other thing I'd recommend doing is make sure you're not towing on too aggressive of a tune. Some people like to try to tow on very aggressive tunes. 40 to 60 horsepower tow tune is the absolute max, in my opinion, to tow anything over really 7,000 pounds. So I'm not saying you can't tow on a hotter tune and try to be more careful, but you're kind of you're like, there's no reason to risk it while you're towing anything of decent weight. So that can help, making sure you have an appropriate tune. The other thing is making sure your oil cooler is health. So how you would test that healthy, not health, making sure your oil cooler is in good overall working order. So what you want to do is get your truck up to operating temp, and then you want to go on to a nice flat stretch of highway and drive your truck at 65 miles an hour down that highway. So what this will do is it'll give your truck a chance to heat up a little bit. And then you can kind of determine if your temp gets to 15 plus degrees, then what's happening is your oil cooler is starting to fail, meaning the coolant passages are getting clogged. It's not able to flow as much coolant through, in turn, not able to cool your oil. This is kind of a known problem, unfortunately, and it's very well documented. I have a decent video, I think, up about replacing your oil cooler. Don't be shocked if we do another one in the future. And by we, I mean me and the shop I'm going to work with, DSD. The next thing to do is, once we know your radiator's in good health, at this point, if you've done these things, you probably have some fresh coolant in it, which can always be helpful. And then your oil cooler's in good health. EGR cooler, making sure you don't have any issues there. If I had to replace an EGR cooler, or if I had an 07 with a factory one, I'd probably go Bulletproof Diesel. I think they're really probably the original upgraded one, if I'm remembering correctly, and I like what they've done in trying to further advance it and make it as efficient as it can be and give you the least amount of issues. I would probably make it regular occurrence to clean my EGR valve, so I know that it's not causing me any issues, but that's what I would do there. Let's see here. From there, a blue wire mod, which is actually where you tie into the wiring harness on your fan clutch, where you can command your fan clutch to 100% to bring your temps down. The only other thing I'll talk about is, I noticed when I had an exhaust leak I developed an exhaust leak while towing once. And what happened is I hate the 7.3 fan clutch mod. So what had happened when I developed the exhaust leak is the truck had to work a lot harder to tow my camper. And it's where I was heading was very, like, there's periods where you go up 1,500 feet of elevation in a couple of minutes. So there's some pretty steep hills. Now, fortunately, on the other side, you're typically going right back down. So it wasn't terrible, but there were still some big hills to kind of combat. So making sure you don't have any intake, like any boost leaks or any exhaust leaks, would also be very beneficial. Those would be kind of my main things to address in the truck before going any other route. I listed a fair amount of things, and they can be very helpful. But I'd make sure all of those are taken care of. Somebody referenced water meth injection, which is also accurate. Obviously, as I read through some of these, we'll get caught back up with that, and I'll comment on it here in a moment. Really working the truck oil temps will rise. The big thing is to watch and see that they recover quickly. Yeah, I would agree with Nick there, making sure that once you climb that hill or whatever, that they come back down relatively quick. They shouldn't stay super high for super long. And again, 240 while very warm isn't like crazy either. I do typically after tows, especially on my 6-liter when I'd get that hot, it got an oil change after the whole trip was done. So, 600 miles down there, I drive around down at the beach, come home. Once the camper was parked where it's going to stay, I did an oil change. Even though I'm probably only at that point like halfway through it, as I did an oil change early just to be on the safe side. You're in Ontario, but you live in Alberta. You're a performance driving instructor, just doing contracts here for 15 more days. What does a performance driving instructor do? Because that sounds like a much cooler job than probably a lot of us have. Not that I'm bad mouthing my what I do for a living. I'm a nurse, but I wish I was a performance driving instructor. Your truck's a toy only. You haul the dirt bikes. I have separate channel for that. Oh, that's cool, man. It sounds like you got some really cool content happening over there. Nice. Nick, oh no, I get off it until I'm over the hill, then cruise down, cool it down. OJ, I'm still live. I don't know that this will be like the old days of 3 hours, but I think as long as people are still engaging, I think we got 2 hours here. We're only a little over 30 minutes in. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm very, very excited to be doing this stuff again. It's great to see a lot of people that used to always join in all the time and hang out and comment. It's great to see people coming back, and I hope to continue to get these growing bigger and bigger. And actually, I plan to start posting them in advance so you guys have more than an hour notice of when I plan to go live. So that's something we're working on here. Thinking of getting a snow performance meth water injection setup. Any opinion on this? I think yes. First and foremost, yes. I think they're really cool. I think they're really cool. I like them a lot, and I actually want to mess with them more. I think on 6 liters, you need to be careful. 6 liters. Hear me out. I just get leery of anything. Like, I don't know that I would advocate for them using stock head bolts. If you're studded, I think a very conservative amount is actually quite good. So I do like the idea behind it. I know they advocate that they don't really increase pressure much, but I do get a little leery of them. But do your research. I think they're cool, and I do plan to mess with them and actually try to test like fuel economy with them, exhaust temps with them, not just with the camper, but also unloaded. So yeah, I'm for them. I'd like to see. Honestly, I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be really cool if a manufacturer released one from factory. Like, how awesome would that be? Now, I'm sure they'd have a lot of restrictions on it, which I'm sure the aftermarket would fix. but I think they're one of the most interesting things that isn't being readily looked into from an emissions standpoint. Uh, it's kind of hard to find out what that would do. But if people were truly concerned about decreasing pollution, as opposed to doing stuff that makes us feel better, like let's actually try to solve a problem. And I don't know what the implications are with the water meth injection, other than it gets a more complete burn of the fuel and increases fuel economy. Um, so all those tell me that in the scheme of things, they might be an excellent source to look for. So yeah, I'm all for it, man. At some point, I will be buying one and messing with it on one of the trucks, probably the six. I want to say 6.7, but I'm not sure. If you are, let me know if there's something on Amazon. Let me know if you want. I can get you links to things. So just let me know. I can also turn you to my sponsor, DSD, and you have to call him right now. We're waiting on the website. He's doing a website that'll have a lot of links to stuff. I think he sells water meth, but my link in the description can get you in contact with those guys. Let them know I sent you over. From collision avoidance training, winter driver, ATV. But motorsports, could it be for racing? Winter driving. So I take it you're probably not impressed when I do my donut videos. I haven't really ever had a great donut video because there's always been things happening that had stopped me from giving you a really great show, or I didn't get good footage of it. There was the one time I really ripped in the black truck I had. I forgot my camera and didn't video it, but there was one time it was so much fun. It was the first time I really got it to do what I wanted to. But that still sounds like a really cool job. You have an 06 350 dually with 410s, 81,000, fully bulletproof, Banks big hoss package. On top of this, I would get meth. It's one of the last mods that's actually legal in California. Yeah, getting stuff that's actually legal in California to have fun. That's going to be one of their next bills, I think, is a ban on having fun. None of that. Can't have it in California. Doom, what's up, brother? How are you doing? Welcome to the live. And of course you're invited. You're one of the moderators, man. You've been with the channel a long, long time. Let's see here. Cool. There was a weird noise over there. That's why I looked so suddenly. Nothing wrong with entertainment. Getting involved with autocross this year. Dude, that sounds really cool. I like that idea. Doom, always good to have you here. Those of you guys that may not have been familiar when we used to do live streams all the time, there are several moderators. For me, they're coming up in blue with a wrench. So they do have the capability of helping keep the chat clean. Those of you guys that may not know, I really do try to keep this community as clean and helpful for everybody. It might mean that maybe I grow a little slower, but I'm okay with that, because what's important to me is the content that we're getting out there and this really cool community we're building here. So those are our guys. You know, if anything's happening, you guys can always feel free to talk to them in the live chat if I'm not with you or at that point yet. That way any issues can be resolved. But they do a fantastic job of helping keep things at bay here. And as these get bigger and bigger, you guys will see sometimes there's always a few people that ask some inappropriate questions or get off topic in ways. I want kids to be able to read all this stuff. So thank you to our moderators here with us hanging out tonight. Doom, it is good to be back, man. I'm so glad you got to catch this one. Really, man, it has been crazy the last several years, and I can't tell you how much I've missed the platform. And Some of these first videos coming out are going to seem kind of slow, but I promise everybody, we have a lot of really great content coming here very soon in the near future. Not just how-to videos, but some really good product reviews. Of course, the ever controversial uh, lightning bolt solenoid from the guys over at Turbo Time USA. It's probably one of the products I'm most excited to review and do some data collection. It's not just going to be, this is how I feel, it's my sponsor, it's great. We're going to actually have some numbers to talk about, and there will be some of my feelings in there, not in like a weird emotional way, but what I think about the product overall. So Doom, thank you, man, and it's great to have you back. The very first live stream I did with like the new setup where I wasn't on very long, I think it was like an hour, and I kind of talked about just everything going on, and how like this really was hard to kind of walk away from, and I was a nightmare in school for a lot of my teachers. I'm sure they might be almost as glad I graduated as I am, but it is great to, while I'm still working on my career and I have a big exam coming up to pass boards and stuff, it is really great to get back and interact with you guys and get this content back out there for people. It's been a long time coming, and I want to do some cool stuff again. You know, we have two great trucks on the channel. We have our 6.0, which is going to obviously be coming back here shortly. We're going to do a lot of reviews of the build, so there will be a lot of kind of technical videos talking about reviewing products related to the build, and just an overall opinion about it. But there's also going to be a lot of new products, because changing lightning bolts on the solenoid for the VGT, is a 5-minute job. Whereas on a 6.7, you have to take a lot more crap off. It's a bigger pain in the butt. So it's not a practical platform to regularly like try the different settings on. Plus tuning's much more limited on it. So it'll be much more reserved to the 6-liter to really get some good information there. Plus, it'll also start turning around into really kind of, it's sat for years now. The interior was getting to a point that it needed, you know, a little bit of love. So we'll be starting to upgrade some of those things and really bringing it up. See if we can take our 2004 F250 and bring it into the year 2023 as far as how it feels on the inside and the luxuries it has. So that'll be a fun, very interesting project coming up in the near future. So great content topics. Really impressed with the live stream. Lots of channels can learn from you. Thank you, man. I think Josh, if you haven't been with the channel forever, Josh was actually one of the first one of us to go live back when him and I did the channel. And I remember him calling me after he did. He goes, "You see the live stream? What the heck are you talking about?" And he told me about it. I had no idea it was a thing. And what I think, this is one of the things I think really helps me stand out, is you don't see channels do live streams like this. And it partially because it's hard. I've become very comfortable in it. Those of you guys remembering some of the official first ones, I was trying to find a way to really, like, how can I make myself different? How can I interact with people? How can I be a different channel and not just another person existing in the same space, hoping people come watch? And live streams was really one of my answers to that. And it's become a lot of fun for me as a YouTube content creator. And again, like, I've really, a lot of you guys have become friends with, or people I talk to regularly. I've had people reach out to me and just see how I was doing during my absence. So it is truthfully really great to get back into doing this and get to interact with everybody. And I'm excited to meet a lot of the people that haven't been around forever. So yeah, I think this is something kind of very, I learned this from other people. There was a guy, Nick Mimmin, something like that. And he was one of the people when I was first starting that I went to look for to try to get, like, how do I become successful at this, or how do I create good content? And he did this massive live stream. I mean, like a 6-hour live stream he would do with his brother. He'd get people on, and at that point they use a streaming service. So when they needed to get up and kind of go to the bathroom, maybe grab a snack or something, that they had services used. And that's eventually really where I want to go with my live streams. But it's such a unique way for you guys to get to interact with me and me to interact with you. and it's easier to answer your questions when it's this platform. I love responding to comments, and it helps the platform out tremendously for me. So I still keep commenting on videos and asking questions, but the live streams, it's a better way for you guys to communicate and ask questions to me, I think. So thank you, Motorsport. I really appreciate it, and I love doing these. Yeah, Doom. The lightning bolt, man. I can't think of a product I've seen enter the market that's gotten so much hate without anybody really giving it a shot. Now, I've from you guys that have tried it out there, I've gotten mostly good feedback. There's been a few people that have had some tuning issues that they were able to work through, but they were present, and that's one of the things I want to talk about is I want to try to find issues. So if I can find issues, it allows me to help you find the workaround for it. So those are some of the things I'd like to work on. And again, get those videos out so that if you're having a problem with yours, if you choose to buy one day, there's a video to help you kind of problem solve what you're getting through. And as you guys give me feedback, it helps me grow my knowledge so that I can continue to make those videos. Because I do think from what I hear, there are a few hiccups with it, but that once you figure them out and have tuning adjusted, if you have that, there's one that's meant for stock setup. So there's a couple different applications, but it will be really interesting. I'm just as interested. I've known about the potential making of this product for about 2 years prior to it coming out, and I believe it was in development for at least a year, if not two prior. So it's been around for a while. Are you wanting meth for EGT control or for power? I'm gonna say both. He should want it for both. If he's still in the chat and hanging out with us, because really it is excellent for both. It will drop your temps and it will give you a nice boost in power without burning more of your diesel fuel. A lot of people don't realize that there is a fuel in the water meth, so it does still do something. Motorsports, I wonder why you're not getting notifications. I actually, anybody that was keeping a really close eye may have actually seen an initial one go out. I set it up on my phone at work to kind of hopefully get the message out to people. I was planning to do a live stream tonight. Excuse me. I meant to do it yesterday on my actual desktop here, but I wasn't able. I got caught up in some other stuff. Yesterday was a very busy day, but so I missed it, and I'm like, let me get this out so people have at least an hour or two so they know it might be happening. Friday night isn't probably the best night to be doing a live stream, but we got people hanging out and having fun, so that's really what I care about. And there'll be one next week sometime randomly, so they'll get their chance to hang out with us. But I hope he's still here, and I hope he wants it for both. It's a fantastic thing. In my opinion, still rolling in the 6.0 Excursion. Someone just recently talked to me about a 6-liter Excursion by me. I forget how many miles. It sounded super clean. It was an all-stock truck, no lift, which I would do because I think lifted Excursions are just awesome. But one day, I want to do an Excursion build. I want to do a killer sound system in one of these trucks so bad because there's so much space. I want to do a really cool sound system that's also still practical, that you can kind of still, have the tire back there and relatively easily get it out. Still put all your groceries back there. I guess some people use them to let their kids sit there during long car rides. Put them in the camp. I'm just kidding. Don't put them in your camper while you're towing. That's illegal in most states, I believe. So let's see here. Trouble-free miles. Put on a set of amp research powers. I really want to try some of these steps. So in my 6.7, I think is what I want to do. I forget which company they do, but they make a step like, so you have your Nerf bar, so to speak, and then from within it, there's a step that comes down. So for when there might be shorter people that get in my truck, it's a little easier for them to get in it than like me personally. Like I only plan to lift it like 1.5 inches, put a nice set of tires on and call it a day in the lift and tire department. But for some people, it's pain in the butt to get in. So I'd like to have an easy way for them to get in. I think that'd be cool. Amp research steps are still really cool. Don't get me wrong. I wish they came down in price because they don't seem like they should be as expensive as they are. They're salty, but they are really cool. And they're like, well, part of why they're there is there's literally OEM manufacturers making them, Amp Research, and I forget the other company. I should just bring it up and see. See what I forget what company it is, but they looked. Oh, now there's that company's new. It wasn't Aries. Aries makes them now. They have this two again where you have a Nerf bar, then a step comes down from there. I feel like that wasn't it. But regardless, there's multiple people making them. I need to do different running boards on my 6.7 because they look ugly. Here's Amp Research steps. Yeah, there's a couple different options. They are just really cool. Regardless, when RBP did one. Oh, so RBP, Aries, Amp. So there's a couple options out there, but I do know they all are expensive. The Aries ones I just saw, they're like $1,700 on Amazon, which is wild considering. Like I know they have a slightly extra feature, but essentially they have a running board with an electronic one that comes out or a motorized one that comes out of it. Hardly seems like enough to charge an extra $300+ or whatever, in my opinion, for what it's worth. Also interested in Ficm tuning. Please keep updated on that. Correct me. Ficm tuning doesn't affect the tune you're currently running, right? Yeah, so Ficm tuning is entirely separate from your ECM tuning. When you tune your ECM, that's one thing. And while there's some crossover between the two, Ficm tuning is entirely different. I like to think of it as more as refining of the injection process as opposed to like a true tune. Now, a lot of people were getting, like, as you get the Ficm tunes, there are several different ones out there. There's like the economy tune, there's a 40, I think it's 40, 80, and 100 horsepower tunes were the common ones. What a lot of people found is going with a lower Ficm tune with ECM tuning netted the highest overall gain. Basically, going with the highest Ficm tune and the highest ECM tune actually netted you slightly less power than maybe a 40 horsepower. I think they call it the Atlas tune, a 40 horsepower tune and like a high horsepower ECM tune. So there's some crossover between the two, but overall they are technically different. So I like to kind of define Ficm tuning more as like refining and perfecting the injection process, where the ECM tuning is just the whole shebang, kind of like a rough tune to everything, so to speak. Ficm tuning is one of the things I am most interested in getting into with my 6-liter once it's back. And that's hard for me to say. There's so many things I'm interested in doing with that truck once it's back. So it is a little hard for me to say one, but it's definitely been something I've wanted to do for a while. And I think we'll be at a perfect time to really do that once it's back here. Sorry, there's a light at the this is the long room I'm in, and there was a lamp on at the far end that just turned off because they're fancy lights that turn off automatically at random times. Drives me insane, to be honest. But we have a light here just out of view that you guys can't see that helps kind of light up the background so it doesn't look like I'm missing this shoulder like it did in my very first live stream on this setup. Let's see here. Yeah, definitely. People running the higher horsepower ECM and Ficm tunes had to keep a pretty close eye on their exhaust temps. They could get a little out of hand from time to time. It's just ginger ale before you ask. Yeah, so Dooms. It's funny you just said about the Atlas. I didn't see that before I brought it up. The tunes from and I see the next comments PHP. The tunes from PHP in the 6-liter I'm most excited to try are the Eco Tune and the Atlas 40 horsepower tune. These are the ones people are having the most overall improvements on. Very few people ran the Eco Tune. A lot of people really settled on the 40. I plan to still test it. If it drives very similar and overall I'm getting better performance, not necessarily more horsepower, but better performance. On the race tunes for that truck, we're already well into the 500 horsepower. And once I do the next injector upgrade, we're going to be around the 600 horsepower mark. So I'd rather give up 10 horsepower on a street truck and get better overall drivability and performance of it, less black smoke, better driving characteristics than say, oh, I got an extra 10 horsepower, because 10 horsepower on the street driving means absolutely nothing. Yeah, Nick, I will probably do the same. I actually don't want to, but the length of time I'll need it to kind of do all my testing, because I will be testing each one. I'll just need to buy it. Nobody's gonna let me rent one for the amount of time, because it's just gonna be way, way, way too long to kind of deal with it. So I will I'll just deal with it. It'll be worth it in the end, because I think it'll be a good thing to kind of I think it would be good content that I haven't seen a ton of people really make. And I haven't seen, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know that I really look it up much anymore, but I haven't seen anyone really talk about it. So, are you planning on running the lightning bolt and Ficm 2 in the 6-liter simultaneous? That's what I was thinking about doing. Yes. While ideally I get to test, well, and that's the other reason I'll need the tuner on hand, is because ideally I plan to test it in both conditions. It will be a lot of time like testing it, and the goal is to get a YouTube shorts out, a regular length video, and a live stream every week. That is my goal moving forward. I don't necessarily have specific days for things, but that's the goal, is to get you guys caught up. I'm going to be making a video in the very near future talking about why cheap intercooler pipes on a 6.7 Powerstroke are a terrible idea, because I've tried fitting them on twice now and can't get these cheap ones to fit. And I wanted to compare cheap with high-end quality stuff, and that's just not going to be able to happen. Thank you, crappy manufacturers out there. Now, fortunately, there's a lot of good products to buy still. So we'll just skip to the good ones after I talk about how bad the cheap ones are. So, but it was unfortunate. I was really looking to have that comparison, to have some middle ground. And I tried it twice. I started filming, and both ended in disaster, unfortunately. I'll probably have a shorts coming out about that soon, with a longer one coming up in the near future talking about it. And again, we will get into more reviews on that, but that's a whole, I don't even know how I got on that topic. Oh, I remember now, because talking about, it'll take me a while to test it, but basically you're going to get different configurations. So I will do a review of I'll do my testing between probably two different tunes on the truck. Probably a tow tune, because people are interested in that information, and probably a race tune. And then we'll use the factory VGT solenoid and both different types of lightning bolt ones. So it will be, these videos will probably be a lot of information and longer when they're coming out. but they will be coming out, and my plan is to make them the most thorough videos that are out there while keeping them. The goal is going to be to keep them under 15 minutes because I want you guys to actually be able to watch them in a reasonable amount of time and not lose interest in what I'm doing with them. So under 15 minutes will really be the goal for those videos. I need to install a few more sensors on the 6.0 before I can do them all. So we're going to install a manual boost gauge. I need to come up with how I'm going to add an additional exhaust back pressure sensor to it to run to my CTS2 that'll be on that truck. We're going to run a fuel pressure gauge. I may even add a regulated return prior to this just to give me the most amount of control on the truck. Some of this will be kind of in like all the sensor add-ons. I pretty much have everything already and just haven't used it because obviously the truck hasn't been around for a while. It was one of the next excuse me, projects for the truck when everything happened. So it will be a lot of interesting information. I haven't fully sat down and developed everything on what I'm going to do with it, but it'll be a combination of things. So we're going to make sure that we have fuel economy. We'll have differences in fuel pressure and how it affects things, if it has affected things. So some of these things in the initial video or two may be present, and as I refine the process, may get weeded out if I'm not finding them to have any impact on things. If I find the sweet spot for fuel pressure to be, say, 55 psi, I'm not going to change it. But in the initial couple videos, it'll be present for it. So there'll be longer videos. There'll be some really, really good testing. My goal would really be probably July for some of those things to start coming out. Now, the VGT solenoid stuff might come out a little sooner to get the initial review, but when I get the combination of ECM tune, Ficm tune, VGT solenoid, fuel pressure changes all in there, it could be a little. Why are we losing people? Am I boring? But it will be a lot of information coming out, so stay tuned for those things. That'll be a lot of fun to actually make, though. How do you remove the dang EGR codes? I can tell when the code pops on. Yeah, Nick, I think it should be responsive. Enough said. I don't know how much control you have over those things, to be perfectly honest, anymore. Some of it you might have to kind of deal with, unfortunately, and that's kind of a byproduct of everything that's happened with the EPA. I try to steer clear of the topic because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to steer anyone to getting in trouble themselves. Maybe if you're able to find an unupdated older one, you might be able to still be able to implement something there. But I can't give much information about it today, partially because I've kind of been away from it, so I'm not sure. Uh, 740 Motorsports. Yep, I see what you're saying there, man. Do I still have the GT40 compressor from I just talked about him in the last live stream. Turbo Labs America, I think it was. Yeah, that guy. What a joke. Those of you guys that have been around, I don't say this to be mean to him. I was a very small YouTube channel. I tried his product. Not that I was looking for a discount or anything, but I'd even communicated with him prior as to what I wanted to do. If that guy's still in business, he's got no business being there. I thought maybe it was just some people beating up on a small company, so I gave it a shot. It seemed like a good idea. And he was copying someone else's design. And yeah, It turned out to be garbage. He made I tried everything. Where is that? I don't know if that's still, that was actually at the shop last time. I don't know. I might still have it floating around. It makes a nice looking paperweight in my opinion. But I don't I never got it working right. It was fun to goof around with. It was a cool project, but it just ended up being a lot more hassle than it was worth. So, no, that's not around. Motorsports, thanks for being here. Enough said. You're welcome, man. Glad I could help. Or, I mean, I guess I didn't, but you know what I mean. Glad to be here to have the conversation. Yes, you could add a very mild kit. So, which kind of ties back into some of my favorite modifications for the 6 liter, and that's a camshaft. What you gain, and I need to answer this in 2 parts. There are camshafts that you can add to your build that are 100% drop in. Here's what's hard. Adding a cam on a 6 liter requires removing a lot of crap. You have to pull the heads actually. Because the lifters are under the lifters are under, let's see here, the rocker box. You can't get to them otherwise. So you have to pull the transmission because they come out of the rear. You have to get a tool to time your cam, your crank. So it's a very expensive job. I do recommend it to anybody getting an engine built, but it is a very expensive job to just have done to a truck. It's not like a LS engine where it's not that big of a deal. It's a pain in the butt. So it is kind of expensive. There are cams out there that are drop-in. So to kind of, I don't mean to throw shade at Colt cams. I actually have a Colt cam in my room that I need to sell. I'd like to sell because it's in perfect condition. What happened, however, is you can't necessarily run it unless your piston protrusion is double checked. It will increase the duration of your valves opening, obviously. And so what the cam did is the cam actually caused me to have piston to valve contact. It could have been a variety of things. Kill Devil Diesel has a little bit of buffer in their valve recession to kind of accommodate for some of this, but the Colt cam ran amazing. Oh my gosh, is it a fun cam? But it was a little aggressive for a factory truck. So if you're doing it, which if you have to take everything else apart anyway, getting relief cuts in your pistons is a really good idea, and making sure your valve protrusion and piston protrusion are checked correctly and within a certain spec so you can do these things. But a cam on an otherwise factory truck is a ridiculous amount of fun. Some of the most fun driving my truck happened when I had stock injectors, stock fuel system, stock turbo, and had a cam. Now I did have other stuff like intercoolers, and I had an ODOG S3R intake back when you could still get them. But man, so much fun to have. You just be careful with again, valve to piston contact. So make sure your protrusion of piston and valves are good, and make sure, I would highly recommend getting relief cuts. Now, that being said, in my current build, piston protrusion and valve recession have both been checked by Kill Devil Diesel, and then again by a local machine shop that assembled things. So my pistons don't have relief cuts. They were machined and they were ceramic coated, but I opted out of, just because the build was getting so carried away. I had to kind of I had to stop the hemorrhaging at some point because it was getting pretty out of hand. So uh, that's what my piston setup looks like. But again, I feel very confident. It's a Kill Devil diesel cam that they tested. It's their stage 2 cam. So we'll see what happens there. But I am very, very excited for that. Looking to make 600 to the wheels. The last big 3 mods I'm looking to do is a lightning bolt, Ficm tune, and 190/30 injectors. After that, I'm done. Doom, I would. So the Ficm tune and lightning bolt, I support. I believe, if I remember right, you're running a stage 2 KC. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I would recommend going to a 205/30. 190/30s are an excellent injector. Don't get me wrong. 205/30s, from all the research I've done, it's what I'm going to be running on mine. Is that slightly bigger bodied injector lets the fuel atomize better when it's pushed through the slightly smaller than what the 205 can empty, than what the nozzle can't quite empty a 205 injector. So it creates higher pressure as it's pushing it out, and it helps atomize the fuel better, giving you a cleaner burn of the fuel. This is why I run 175 stock nozzle injectors. They do give a power boost over 155 stocks. Don't let anyone tell you differently. And so you get cleaner burning fuel, lower exhaust temps, better fuel economy, better power out of it overall. Not that a 190/30 runs bad. Don't think that at all. A 190/30 is a great injector. It runs really, really well. A 205/30 is like that extra 5% better. Say, that's an arbitrary number I picked for the record, but it does help regardless. Let's see here. Other than that, I like your plan. And Nick agreed on the 205/30s. What is a good place to get a good 0304 turbo rebuild kit? My bellows have cracked, so I'm replacing it and cleaning my turbo. I believe my sponsor, Turbo Time USA, now sells rebuild kits. Let me just double check here. But I'm pretty certain they sell rebuild kits now. Oh, they even sell 6.7 rebuild kits now. That's kind of snazzy. Where's the 6.0 rebuild? 6.0 rebuild kit. I don't know if my affiliate code works for this. But regardless, try my affiliate code. I'll put that in here. That's good for 5% off their turbos. I don't know if it'll work on that. That's who I would recommend. They are a sponsor of the channel, and I do have the affiliate code, so obviously there's a little bit of financial incentive there, but they've been a fantastic company to work with. Highly, highly recommend them. Just making sure there's nothing else on here that I should be recommending instead. Nope. Nope, that's it. So that's their rebuild kit. Again, they've been fantastic to work with. Use my code. Let them know I sent you. Okay. Sorry, just getting caught up on stuff. Nuff said, how many? Is there any issues with before you? Now I think about it, are there any issues with your turbo, or are you just trying to rebuild it as a preventative thing? Like, what's causing you to do that besides that you're pulling it out anyway? Listening to you and Nick, I'll do the 205 when time comes. This is what this channel is all about. Great. Hey, man, truly, if anybody wants to know what it is, it's getting advice like this and working back and forth with people and talking things out. That's really what this has been channel was founded on. So I love to see that that's still happening here. 5 years later, we're still rolling. So what transmission are you running? stock trans, that's what I'm not looking to go over. And a stock trans, even though that's a lot of horsepower, um, if you said you're gonna beat on it all the time, I'd say a stock transmission's not a good idea. But people really underestimate when they're like, "Oh, my truck handles this amount of horsepower." Just because your build is capable of something, having 600 horsepower and driving normally, and with the occasional spirited drive, maybe you get up to highway speeds in a very efficient manner, is very different from doing boosted launches, trying to see how fast you can go. Um, those are two different things. And that shock to in a boosted launch, a shock to the transmission like that, it's a lot. Whereas if you're driving normally and just you go from 35 to 65 miles an hour in a very timely manner, a stock transmission is still likely to last you quite a long time. Are you pushing it past its limits? Yeah, but I don't think. But if you're still driving normally, it'll be fine for a while. And then when the time comes to rebuild, hey, you tried. You didn't want to buy the very nice $8,500 transmission. You just had to. Um, yeah, yeah. Stock transmissions in the 6 liter, very very durable transmissions. They do an excellent job of holding up to the abuse. I know I've replaced mine, and I do love it. I have a upgraded what's it called? Torque converter on it. It drives really nice. I'm excited to see how it does once it's back. Hopefully everything still is running really good. But what stinks is the warranty period for that is now out, unfortunately. So if anything's wrong, that'll be on me, which will be very, very upsetting. But I would not recommend most people do what I did. I didn't realize it was the same transmission in the 0304 Lightnings. That's kind of cool. Um, is the bell housing the same? A lot of people don't realize, like, in the 4R, so the 7.3 engine, in the 4R and the 6.8 V10, it's a different bolt pattern. So the V10 4R bolts up to a 6 liter, which is what a lot of guys racing do. Partially because in the 5R, a lot of people have heard of the 3 to 5 shift flare. It's as the transmission's dropping one clutch pack and picking up another. Whereas in a 4R, it just adds them to it. It doesn't have that same delay, and it doesn't technically have fifth gear. It's technically a 5-speed transmission, but it doesn't utilize them all in the same. Just like a 5R is technically a 6-speed transmission, but again, it doesn't use them all. One of them is used for cold weather conditions while the truck is heating up or warming up. I'd like to do the 6.4 trans pan swap. How much bigger is the pan? So 74, what I would recommend doing is I did a lot of talking about this when I did my transmission video. So a stock 5R is a rather long transmission. And one of the things it suffers from, making the shift flare issue more prominent, is called torsional flexion. And basically, here's your transmission. What's happening is you have forces pulling the tail end this way and the upper end this way. And over time, the internal passages don't line up the same. This is one of the big issues. Suncoast has an upgraded center support for it. And also, give me 1 second. I'm going to think. The big metal like Magtech pans, or BD Diesel makes one. Get you an example of one. They're all the same on most of the Ford diesel transmissions. 5R 110 transmission pan. So I'm going to put a link here. You do not have to necessarily use this one. I'm just going to put one in. This will be an affiliate link. It helped provide some rigidity to the transmission case, helping to prevent this issue from happening. I'm trying to see if there's like a reasonable one without spending forever looking for it that I would recommend. There really isn't. I think the MagTech one personally looks the cleanest, but there's other ones you can try. So, check them out. But it's the same on the different transmissions for the truck. Get you a link here. That's for the transmission pan. So a combination can help prevent some of that torsional flexion. The factory pan's just stamped, I believe, steel or aluminum. I forget which one, but it's very weak. It doesn't help prevent this issue. That one can help. So I would recommend it. I forget how much. I think it might say it on there how much bigger it is. And also make sure to upgrade to the 6.4 filter. You get that deeper pan, get a 6.4 filter in there. It'll filter much better than the 6-liter ones did. Has anyone done a 6.4, 6.7 starter swap on their 6-liter? Josh's truck is running a 6.4 starter. It works very well. It is I've gone back and forth as if which one I'm going to do. I will be doing one of them on my truck when it's back, but I'm not sure which one. But the 6.4 or the 6.7 starter will be going on it. They just perform better. Now I will say this: since that time, there's a lot more 6.0 starters out there that are like the high torque ones. So I don't know that it's necessary to go to them, but at junkyards you can get them a lot cheaper. I mean, you go to eBay or something, buy one of these. Let's just bring up another tab here. But you go to eBay and pull up a 6.4 starter. Pop up on. I hate Google Chrome, and every time you go to somewhere, it tries to bring something up that you don't want to click on or save this password. How about just let me do what I want? 6.4 starter. So here's I don't know the brand. There's a brand new one for 116. Well, here's probably the likely OEM one at $330. But if you go and get a used one, $99 refurbished. But I would want a true used one. $90. $90 starter, free shipping. $115 or best offer. $60 free shipping. The $60 one is the ones that I used to see all the time. So it's a relatively cheap thing that you can do, or you can just go to a local junkyard, see if they have one, which is probably what I'm going to do, and try to just get one for under $60 and put it on. Now, my 6-liter starter is fine, but we do have a billet flex plate on it now as well. I want to make sure we're cranking up nice and fast and get that truck started. So sometimes I think my 6-liter starter was kind of like not dying, just on the sluggish side. Let's see what 6.7 starters cost today. 6.7. Here's one for I don't know what brand it is, $150. Let's go to condition again. Let's get used. Why is it showing me Dodge when I put 6.7 Powerstroke starter? It's showing me a lot of the Dodge ones, which is kind of annoying. They're around $150, which seems a bit expensive for something that's probably destroyed. But I imagine Fords are probably quite similar. I don't know where my pup's at. She didn't come down at all today. Normally she comes down when I live stream. You guys have all gotten used to seeing her. Yeah, she's not here. She's probably upstairs napping or something. Maybe she'll come down a little later and hang out for a little bit. You have the 6.4 spins the engine higher than the 6. Yeah. The 6.4 is a 100% direct bolt in. No modification at all. You don't need anything. On the 6.7, I believe you have to drill one of the holes out on the starter to fit the bolt in. I think that's the difference. See if we can get an actual 6.7 Powerstroke. Yes, one of the holes is smaller on the 6.7, probably because they were trying to stop us from doing this in the first place. Because that's what they, or at least that's what that picture, it doesn't look like it. That's annoying. Which is it? Well, I feel like that means I just have to do a 6.7 starter on my 6-liter. But I'm pretty certain that on the 6.4 I've done, it's 100% drop in, bolted up, you're done. On the 6.7 Powerstroke starter to bring it to a 6-liter, there's one of the holes on the housing you have to drill out to make it fit on a 6-liter, which isn't a big deal. It's just drilling out one hole, and it's probably just an aluminum housing. I would make sure you cover up to make sure no metal shards get inside it. So I'd probably make sure you're trying to be clean about it, but it shouldn't be an issue. Drill a hole out, new washer, new bolt, done. Yeah, I think that just made up my mind. I'll probably do a 6.7 starter on my 6.0 Powerstroke once it's back. And definitely compare my, gosh, how old's my truck? So the better part of 20, well, actually it's an early 04. So it would have been sold in 03. So my 20-year-old factory starter with once you factor in tire size and how many miles are actually on that truck, over 200,000 miles. It'll be very interesting to see how much difference it is. Yeah. And I don't know what the heck I'll do with the other starter, but it should make a very big difference. Doom, I'm actually going to bring up their Instagram page now and see if I can find it. Let's see here. Sorry, guys, I don't mean to ignore everybody. I just want to see if I can find any information. I haven't gotten any heads up about it, which I imagine I will once it's... So still no sign of it being worked on. So it is supposed to be in like incredibly soon to being worked on. And I can't tell you how frustrating it's been for me. I wanted this truck back forever ago. And the goal is to make a ton of content with it this summer, along with 6.7 content. I plan to do both side by side. No trucks getting sold. At least not now. And honestly, if I sold a truck, it would be the 6.7. It wouldn't be my 6-liter. So, Greg was hopeful from what he told me this week, or this week we just went through. Now, it wasn't in. Next Wednesday, I will probably go talk to him. I might go up to my camper this weekend. If I'm back in town in time on Monday, I'll stop by, but I don't think I will. So it'll be a Wednesday will be the next day I have off, so I'll probably go try to check that out then. But it's been rough, man. I have so many plans for that truck. I mean, we have an entire suspension to redo on it. I have a good video about the newer style suspension. So starting in 05 to current, I have a video on how to do that. But I don't have a good 99 through 04 front end suspension video. So that'll be made. that'll probably be made with the new partnership I'm doing. And I want to make sure that video is out there because there's still plenty of people driving 7.3s, driving 6.0s. I know everybody hates some of these older diesels. Not everybody, some people do, but there's still a ridiculous amount of them on the road. And quite frankly, there's some of the few like occasionally reasonably priced diesels out there. But there's going to be a ton of content coming from that, from brakes again. At some point, it will get an axle swap. Not immediately. I have an axle floating. I gotta go see if they still have my axle. A friend was storing that. That's something I should do in the near future because they said they couldn't find it, which is upsetting because that was a nice axle. It would be a cool video to like redo and finish at some point. So that's neither here nor there. But regardless, the only thing I can say is like 100%, it's coming back. I'm not making that up. The 6.0 Powerstroke is going to come back, and there's going to be a ton of content to make with it. And it's not going to all be performance stuff. Just like the 6.7 isn't going to be all performance stuff. There's going to be interior modifications. And on the 6-liter, it's really going to be taking an old truck and trying to make it nice again. Like the sunroof broke, I got to fix that. There's kits out there to fix all the parts in the roof that break. It's going to be putting sound deadening on to try to make it quieter and more comfortable on the inside. At some point, new carpet, new leather seats. A lot of stuff will be happening with that. When do you the trans bumper filter, best way to remove the dang cup housing? So there's 2 filters for the 6-liter for the transmission. There's the one you're talking about that has like this toilet paper looking filter in it with a bypass valve on it. So when it's gone, it just bypasses it. So you still get flow, but there's a big filter in the transmission itself. So there are 2. I almost put this out of it. Have you tried heating it up? That's the only thing. I think there's soft lines by that though. But I would just be careful related to the soft lines that are there and get a torch on it, man. The more I've worked on stuff over the years, the less I've gotten worried about heating it up. It all gets heated up now. There's no prize for spending more time getting something off. If it doesn't come off in what I deem to be a reasonable amount of time, I get my torch out. I don't have the nozzle I put on isn't anything crazy. It's just enough to put some heat on things. Which actually, like those cheap nozzles are good for like smaller things, like because it's not putting out as much heat. So if you have like a brake line that's stuck on something, you don't have to worry about destroying the brake line. Just certain things like that. So don't get one of the nice nozzles for a MAP gas or propane and melt a bunch of crap. But don't kill yourself trying to wrestle something off. If it's not coming off, heat it up. Heat it up and swap it, or heat it up and undo it. I heat it up. Use an oil penetrant after. These things are flammable, so don't heat up after spraying WD-40 or PB Blaster right on it. But you can spray typically after you've heated it up, and that can help as well if the heat alone didn't work. But typically heating stuff up a little bit makes a big difference. Oh yeah, Nick, do you mean down the track, comparing current like 35s to like a stock size tire? I still want to do that. I would love to really do that at some point. I do think the earliest you guys will see me potentially race, and I'm not committing to it, I'm saying potentially, would be this fall. And it would be very late in the season. It won't be if I do it at all this year. Mongoose is back. What's up, brother? Welcome back, man. It's good to see you. It's so good to see the like the people that I've talked to so much. But I do just kind of miss everybody. And guys, if you're not part of the 17 people that like this video, please smash that like button. It helps more than you know. Get this content out and help things keep going out and getting better. So hit that like button, guys. But it would be cool to see if I feel like going down in size to a factory size from the 35. So the last time I ran, I had a relatively smaller 35-ish inch tire. That was, what did I run? 13.6. I ran a 13.6. It would be interesting to see if going from that to a completely factory tire would put me like under 13 or 13.2. Like, how many can I shave half a second off? Now my tires, now I have a heavier wheel and I have heavier tires as well. 74, thanks for coming, man. You have a good night. Thanks for checking everything out. It's been great hanging out with you. It would be cool to see what it would do. I think it's very fascinating. You don't really see people racing lifted 250s, so it's not something I can say I've truly seen out there. It would make for an interesting video, though. I would suspect, well, my engine will be making more power. So and my transmission's better now. So let's say the tires will affect me. Let's say I keep it the 13.6. Let's just say the added power offsets the rotational mass difference that will inevitably slow us down a little bit. It'd be cool if I could still stay at a decent time. So if it was 13.6, it would be cool to shave half a second off going to a factory tire, which I think in those years was like a 32, give or take. So nobody really ever talks about how bad the 6.4 was. I think the 6.0 is much better than the 6.4. Yeah, really the 6.4, what it had was the capabilities to be a just complete powerhouse. But reliability, cracked pistons are abundant in them. Like, I think today we can make them reliable, but they're very expensive. You're talking at a minimum to do a nice 6.4, in my opinion, you need to have upgraded pistons. There's no reason not to have steel pistons today in your 6.4. I would definitely advocate anybody doing a 6.4 build to make sure they have steel pistons, because it's really probably the only way to make it truly reliable today. I would like to do a 6.4 build at some point, but I stand by the 6.0. I think is overall a better engine. And for what you got, like an extra 50 pounds of torque and an extra 25 horsepower over the 6-liter. They are cool looking trucks, don't get me wrong. But like, at the time, especially with factory stuff, now you get into the DPF nonsense. Cracked engine blocks are more common on them because of they used a 6.0 block on the 6.4. So yeah, there's too many downsides, in my opinion, to the 6.4 to make it a better engine. More powerful, yes. Capable of more power in factory setting, yes. Well, with deletes, I should say. Good engine to buy without the intent of rebuilding it? Absolutely not. Terry, what's up, man? Welcome to the live stream. Mongoose, good to see you too, man. It is really great getting all the people that used to come in all the time back and hanging out. I can't tell you how excited I am to really start growing these live streams again and get them back to where they were. It's been a long time, and I really look forward to watching them grow. And already, even this live stream, I did one the other day, I did this one, and you already see it growing again. You know, I don't know what like how many actual views will be at the end of this, and really I'm not that worried about it because it's been a great interactive live stream, but it's just cool to see everybody coming back and seeing it start growing again. So very, very excited for all of that. But I got to tell you, this is really one of like the cooler things to get to do is I don't know, I don't see really anybody do the live streams like I do. Doom, I'm not. So we were actually just talking about this very recently. Well, so you guys have heard me talk about DSD, one of my new sponsors, and he's really a super cool dude. And what I want to do, I was just talking to him about these brake kits, is I want to get one of the SSBC brake kits for these trucks. They have a kit that's like relatively reasonably priced. Ford products, 2013. Well, that's not reasonably priced. The 2013, the 2013 through 22, 250, 350 brake kit, not reasonably priced from these guys. That's 4350. But they used to at least have a kit where like front was like the front kits were like $900, and basically they weren't a big those are beasts, so maybe they're bigger than factory, but they used to sell a kit that used the factory sized rotors and stuff, and basically you just had to worry about buying the different pads for it, and it used the same size rotor, so you could use anybody's rotor on it. Wish I could find it right away. I don't want to spend too much time looking for it because it's really just time away from the live stream. Regardless, they used to be around $1,000, which still isn't like the world's cheapest things to do, but it still wasn't terrible. I do plan to do different braking kits on each truck, the 6.7 and the 6.0. I do plan to put different brake kits on both of them, definitely upgrading them, whether they are the SSBC, which I think, in my opinion, are probably my favorite looking ones. And I just fall in line with that value equation. It's not nearly as overpriced as some of the other stuff. Now, when you get into the real big stuff, that none of that's affordable. What is Willwood brakes? They're crazy expensive. I think for a set of Willwoods on a 250, you're looking at like $4 or $5 grand, which again falls in line with that big brake kit we just looked at for a second. But I do plan to do two different products, both on the 6.7 and the 6.0. All four corners will match, but they'll be different kits. I love Power Stop brakes, and for factory kits, they are the best in my opinion. How do you guys deal with the CP4 pump on the 6.7? This is a really interesting. This became a vastly more interesting topic here in the last month or two, and this is one of the kits I actually have one on order through my sponsor. So just waiting for it to officially get in. It's the DCR pump from SS Fuel. I think it's SS Fuel. SS Fuel DCR. Yep. SS Diesel Motorsports. Excuse me. I was wrong. And in my opinion, this is probably the ultimate solution. The CP4 pump is it's problematic. It has good performance. It has terrible reliability. So I'm going to go the way of upgrading the entire pump. It's supposed to be a drop-in kit. It's supposed to require zero tuning. It's based on a much more reliable pump that's proven. It's not some brand new pump they made up with. They have a modified housing to fit in the 6.7. And part of why Ford hasn't steered away from it is the area, like the block is almost built around the CP4 pump on the 6.7, which seems like that was kind of a dumb idea. But I think sometimes you kind of have to do something similar to this. But because it's such a tight space, it's not allowed for a lot of innovation in this area. So the DCR pump is a fantastic idea they came up with. I don't know how long it's been in the making. I imagine a while, but I really, really want one. Now, I will say this: that pump is, I believe it's $2,000. I can get you a link to it. Yep, I believe it's going to be $2,000, which, in the scheme of things, for as reliable as it's supposed to be, that is not bad. I just don't think that that is a terrible price for what you're actually getting. Now, I'm going to send you two links because one of them is going to be for the disaster prevention kit, and I think this is for most people probably one of the best ideas, because what this does is it does allow you, um, the pump will fail at some point. We can do things to try to prevent it, but it's going to fail. Um, However, this is for a 2011 plus. I believe this fits even the most current Powerstrokes. This is the disaster prevention kit. What that means is when the pump fails, it doesn't take out your entire injection system, meaning injectors, fuel rails, all the new lines. It keeps it from destroying everything. So honestly, $400 for that, that is a steal of a kit. But let's find you the DCR kit here. DCR, there we go. And this is not released yet. So there's not actually a to buy link here. I think there's something you can submit down at the bottom, questions. The DCR kit, while it'll be a little bit more expensive, again, about 5 times the cost essentially, but it actually solves the problem in its entirety. So I think this is the best overall option for reliability and performance. I think the next best thing being, SS Motorsports actually killed a CP4 pump testing their disaster prevention kit because people, my understanding, had made accusations it wasn't going to work. And I believe they also probably did this in testing initially as well, and it's proven to work. So, excuse me, it is in my opinion, these are your only two viable options. I would not waste my money on cheaper kits, disaster prevention kits. I'm sure, well, let's get on Amazon and see what we can find, because I'm sure we'll only find a quality uh, disaster kit for the CP4 here. A lot of these are more expensive than I thought. Some of them look quite nice, but I just struggle. Like, here's a $68 one, $90 one. There's some $200 ones that look legit. I'm not going to lie. There's definitely some nice $200 kits that look like they are direct copies. Whether they work as well, that is an entirely other equation. But the SS Diesel one is the one that's, you're not going to have an issue. It's guaranteed to work. You're not going to be replacing your entire injection system if that grenades. That would be my opinion. So ideally, I'd like to actually do a video installing, excuse me, installing the disaster prevention kit. Then I'd like to do another video installing the DCR pump. I don't know that I can justify wasting $400 to do something that I plan to take right off when my truck only has under 50,000 miles currently. Let's see here. I thought the DCR was gonna stay. I thought the DCR was good for any year. Nope, 2011 through 2019. Future plans for the 2020 plus compatibility. So they are working on it. The target release date sometime during Q2 right now, April through June of 2023. So we'll see. I imagine these are going to be very hard to get. It just said chat got disconnected and then reconnected. Are you guys able to chat right now? If somebody can drop a comment for me in the live chat. All right, we're good. Did Ford mod change DCR pump instead of? No, 2023 still. All Ford 6.7s are still using CP4 pumps. I have not seen any talk about Ford getting away from the CP4. Ford leaving CP. Let's just Google CP4. There's lawsuit information, lawsuit. Okay, that's not helpful. So no, they're still not getting away from the CP4 pump. I hope this kit helps them get away from it. To see it's possible, someone's essentially already pioneered it for them. It's really probably the only big flaw that continues to come up on 6.7 Powerstrokes. $2,000 is a lot cheaper than grenading an engine. I don't believe the CP4 really takes out the engine, takes out the injection system, and having like a Ford dealer replace that, it's going to be $10,000. Yeah, my understanding in Europe, the CP4 pump has like a 4% fail. Like it's much lower than it is in the American, but they don't. Their diesel fuel is of higher quality than ours. Is my understanding. Is it the sulfur in it? Maybe I forgot. There's a reason for it though. I know that. I'm not sure if the 153. Let's see here. The baby Powerstroke. CP4 pump still. At what mileage does a CP4 pump fail? That's kind of hard to do. Well, hold on, I missed one. Todd, I believe it is. Yes, I will be doing whether it's when I do the DCR pump or if I end up actually doing a disaster prevention kit, that'll get reviewed. The DCR pump will come, so both will be completely reviewed when I get the opportunity. At what mileage is hard to say. It comes to a lot of factors. Are you getting good quality diesel fuel? That's probably being the biggest one, is that making sure you have high quality diesel fuel, that there's not water or contaminants in there getting past it, making sure your filters are replaced and not just leaving old filters in your truck that aren't doing their job anymore. Yeah, I would definitely not utilize. So here's one thing. The kits are definitely something I'd only use on out of warranty trucks. But Ford's kind of been a jerk about these CP4 pumps. The next thing being, a dealer has to actually prove that your part caused the failure to deny a warranty claim. Does mean you might have to fight a dealership to make this happen, but they cannot necessarily say this caused it, your warranty's gone. Just saying. It would be a fight. It wouldn't be fun. I wouldn't advocate for an in-warranty truck to replace this stuff. Yeah, like Mongoose said, completely unpredictable unless you do something dumb like if you put gas in your diesel, you're going to kill a CP4 pump super quick. Don't do it. Please don't do it, but you will kill the pump. But I've heard of it in very low mileage trucks, and then I've heard trucks go very high mileage. So it's a big pain. Big fan of additives. I haven't been great about that in my 6.7. I plan to change that in the near future. I love Arch Oil products. I did not know that about the Hot Shots LX4. I've heard about it, but I haven't used it. That's cool. It was designed for CP4 pumps. The one thing I'll say about additives is I've seen apparently somebody was making like an alcohol derived additive, or it makes me think they were putting something that was meant for a gas engine and a diesel, but just make sure there's nothing that's going to cause you like paint thinner. Like obviously you're not putting paint thinner in your vehicle. Let me finish the thought before I said that kind of in a dumb order. But alcohol is not necessarily a good one to use because it'll destroy the lubricity, which is a big problem. You don't want that in. So alcohol based additives should not be used. I'm not familiar with that warranty act. I'll have to look into that though. That's interesting. I love Arch Oil in my 6-liter for fuel and additives. I actually want to use Arch Oil sells like this whole fuel treatment thing I looked up. It's not just their oil additive, it's not just their normal fuel. Let's just look up Arch Oil, see what pops up. They have a 3-part thing. So they have a diesel fuel cleaner, a diesel treatment, and then the friction modifier that goes in your oil. So I do want to try this whole diesel treatment thing. There it is. I want to just read it. It says use every 5,000 miles, which seems like kind of a big pain. Eliminates DPF buildup and reduces regens. We'll find that out at some point because I'll be checking it out. Sean, what's up, brother? Yep, we are officially 100% back in action. The channel is alive and well. It's going quite well, and I'm excited to get really a lot of stuff out there. Sorry, I got a quick answer, one text. All right, sorry about that, guys. Sean, it's great to have you back, man. It really is cool seeing a lot of the guys that were always there, very supportive over the years, coming back and hanging out for the live streams. I think I want to say I would love by the end of the summer, if we could have a triple-digit live stream, meaning at a single time to have 100 people in a live stream. I believe my previous record was like 80, and it was only 80 for like a hot second. So it'd be really cool to hit triple digits by the end of the summer, and I think that's very possible as we really get to growing this again. And I'm regular on my end between doing YouTube Shorts, getting regular content up, and doing regular live streams. I think that's a very good possibility that you guys are able to do that. So. Sean, I am very excited myself to get the 6.0 back on the road. Next week, I need to go take a look at it, see if it's going to happen soon. I really, really, really want to find out that it's being worked on. Which realistically is pulling the cab and dropping an engine in, because the engine's entirely built. You guys have seen the pictures on Instagram. That is my engine. It is built. It would be great to get it in a truck and really get to making some good videos, and even just some videos that are me really goofing around again, where I'm driving around doing some spirited driving, if you will. So yeah, very excited, man. It's supposed to be on the road very, very soon. My 6.0, when it comes back, will have new fuel filters in the fast system. Changing fuel filters, Doom, you already know. I don't need to tell you, but it's very, very important. We'll probably be going with the fast system on the 6.7 at some point as well. I don't have a specific timeline for that. It'll really be, a lot of it will be dependent on how well YouTube does. As YouTube's able to really help make some of these things happen for me, we'll make them happen. I really want to review everything. But it'll be interesting to see as things progress forward. Nissan Titan had 60 miles, CP4 pump, used hot shots every fill up, never had an issue, and I think the new owner still hasn't had an issue. I didn't know the Nissan Titan diesel had a CP4 pump on it. I mean, it makes sense. Cummins did use it in the Ram briefly, but I believe they went back to a different pump as well. You're new to live streams, but watch lots of your 6.0 videos before I bought mine. I hope I helped, man. I hope I gave some solid advice and that you don't regret it. I love my 6-liter, still do. Great truck. They're a lot of fun, I think, and they're cool to work on. They're one of the last trucks that, like, I shouldn't say last trucks. They're easy to work on. They're user friendly. The 6.7 really isn't as friendly to work on. It's not terrible, but there are some issues. And one of the things I plan to do here in the near future, I'm going to be putting BD exhaust manifolds on the 6.7. BD Diesel sent them out a while ago when I had the black truck. I never put them on. We're putting them on this truck. And I want to do a complete how to basically tear down to them and to the turbo, because the turbo will be right there as well. So we're going to be removing all that stuff and filming it. I don't know how I'm going to present all of that. It'll obviously be a lot of content to get through, but I want to basically do a teardown video. Getting down to your exhaust manifolds, it's a common leak point on the 6.7, and down to the turbo pedestal, because that can also leak fluids as well. So that video will be coming, where it's not so much that I'm necessarily doing a whole bunch of cool stuff, but it will be a great video to show you how to just take things apart on the 6.7. I have not heard from Bloke in forever. I hope he's doing well. He seemed like a really good kid. Gosh, I guess he's probably not as much of a kid anymore. He's probably getting close to 21 these days, now that I think about it. But I hope he's doing well. I really do. I believe he still follows the Instagram. I don't know that he watches the videos as much. But I think he still follows the Instagram. I could be wrong. Interests change, especially around that age group. But he was a good kid, super supportive too. Really appreciated him. So if anybody can get a hold of him, tell him to bring his butt back here. That'd be great. I believe the last time he was on, we were all giving him crap because he started dating someone. We said, now we know where he went. Only thing you haven't done is a lift pump, really needed for the 6.0. So if you're keeping factory injectors, you do not need to change the factory lift pump. Check it. You want to make sure it's still healthy. They're getting older. Even one that hasn't been even a 6.0 that doesn't have a ton of miles on it, those lift pumps have been around and sitting for a while, and they've still been used. So it can be an issue. You get gunked up diesel that's been sitting in one for a while, like that can have effects. Like it's not like it's one sitting on the shelf waiting to be used. So as long as your fuel pressure is at a minimum of 45 psi under load, not sitting idle, driving down the road, gunning it, flooring it, as long as it's safe to do so, then you're fine. You don't need to replace it. I like having the fast system. I also run bigger injectors with the plan to go even bigger. So I kind of knew I wanted to have a lift pump. I think they're a little loud, but I still wouldn't change it, and I like it overall. So doesn't bug me at all. But they're not necessary unless you want to actually go bigger. And even if you're going to stick with the 175 stock, which is my favorite 6-liter injector to recommend to people, then I would stick with the factory pump. Just make sure it's healthy and a blue spring mod. Mongoose, I could see that. I could see the 6.0 going up in price again. I think they've really gone back and forth a lot in the last couple of years. I think they've gone up several times, and then I think they've fallen once or twice, probably as people think things are going to calm down. But it is a very volatile truck market, especially for diesels at the moment. 6.0 is still, in my opinion, best sounding diesel. I agree completely, Mongoose. I'm glad I was able to help, brother. Thank you. It's good to see the guys that have been around for so long, like excited to see each other in the chat. Like, I love that so much. It's so cool to see, like, you guys have been coming around and hanging out and interacting for that long of time that you guys like remember each other in the chat. I just think that's such a cool thing and so unique to what we do here on the channel. New trucks prices are out of this world. I still disagree with how much I paid for my 6.7. I hate it. Dude, really, you don't hear your pump at all? That's crazy. Because my pump's loud on this. At least it was loud. Now I have heard both companies have released still high flowing pumps, but I've heard they've gotten the noise down a lot more as well. Sean, I'm gonna go with a 205/30. That is definitely my plan. I I don't see me deviating from that. It'll still have, like, initially it'll still have the 175 stock nozzles. The turbo we went with from Turbo Time USA is slightly smaller than previously, so I expect much better spool up, especially with much higher flowing heads and a fresh build, a new cam. I expect it to spool very fast, even in that setup, but we will go bigger still. Well, not bigger than 205/30s, at least not for this truck. I could see one day I really do want to do a single cab. Not going to lie. A single cab would be a lot of fun. I don't know when I will be able to, but if I ever get the chance, that would get some big injectors, probably hybrids. Fuel pressure 70-ish, that's good. Just make sure it doesn't consistently stay over 75. Long crank on 6 left sitting for a week, maybe weak high pressure oil pump. Terry, what year's your truck? Is it an 04 and a half? Like, or better question, what style high pressure oil pump does it have? If it has the upgrade, if it has the newest style pump, then you don't have to worry. It's not likely the pump. It could be the, let me think here. What I would do with that long crank is I would keep an eye on what it's doing. To an extent, if it's a long crank, it could be batteries not being able to spin the engine as hard, causing a longer crank. Things settle and drain, so maybe it just takes an extra little bit to prime the system. You have the round pump. It could be the pump. It could be the start of a leak under the cover. There's an O-ring that sits up there. So there's two O-rings. One sits on top of the high pressure oil pump. And then you have your J-tube that bolts on top of that with a nipple coming up and another O-ring. Sometimes that top O-ring can fail. It could be back. You have my preferred setup, which is the early style pump with the late style fuel rails, or oil rails technically, but Ford calls them fuel rails because they're stupid. I don't actually think they're stupid, but they annoy me sometimes. So I would consider maybe you can buy just the J-tube, which will come with the O-rings, because there's a quick disconnect at the back of that that goes to your branch tubes, which actually feed the oil rails. Let's see here. 07, 40K for 80,000 miles in 03 or an 07 350 Harley. That is wild. Jacob, that's cool. What give me the specs on it? Is what year, cab configuration, and what you want to do with it, man. Man, I'd be furious if I bought a truck in less than 24 hours someone stole it. I'd be mad if someone stole my stuff regardless, but less than 24 hours, man, that's rough. I found my solution to the long live streams that I can't bring enough water. So this is a massive jug. And what do we got here? 3,800 mLs right here. Helps keep me going through the long live streams. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Yeah, definitely send me remind me. I'm terrible at remembering to check things out. I tell people I will. Sean, I think I do think 625 is reasonable given all the other upgrades. You know, really optimized it's got a great optimized airflow path between the exhaust manifolds, the aluminum Kill Devil Diesel icon heads, the O-Dog ported intake manifold. I think it has a lot of potential to be 625. I do think 625 is probably the top limit for my build. So I'm going to say probably between 590 and 625 would be my guess. Ooh, would I put 175 stock nozzles on a head bolt truck? Running a tow tune, I would. Running a tow tune, I'd be okay with 175 stocks, under the idea that I am risking it more. Like, there's still going to be an increased risk of blown head gaskets because it could happen whenever. But I would probably feel okay with that. But again, I would be prepared for the worst. But I do think it probably could be one of the safer configurations you could do as far as upgrading the truck while trying to keep the potential for a bad day down at the same time. So getting lock punched and stolen is my nightmare. Yeah, I gotta tell you, that stuff frustrates me. I will check ICP. I have new ones sitting ready. a crazy topic question. Oh, I know what you're going to do. I think I know what you're going to do. I'm going to wait for it. And I potentially already did. But okay. No, I was wrong. Pest oil for the 6.0. This is another one of those very common questions that comes up. And I don't know if Mongoose is messing with me or not. I'm a Motorcraft oil fan for the 6-liter and my 6.7. I've been on forums for a long time now. I haven't regularly been on them for a bit, but I remember like the oil debate first coming up. The only other oil I want to consider trying is Schaefer. They seem to be really, really good. I don't necessarily think, I personally believe oil is not nearly the topic it's been made into with 6.7s. Oil quality has come so far. I think the biggest thing is changing it at 5,000 miles or slightly less. Using a good additive like Arch Oil. There's several others out there, but making sure that you're keeping a decent quality brand in there and that you're making sure it's getting changed in a timely manner. I think most oil-related issues, especially in a HUE injection system, come to lack of maintenance in changing oil. It can cause injector issues, but people don't understand how hard a hydraulic system, which is basically how our injectors are run on a 6-liter, is on oil itself. So not changing it regularly, not making sure it's got clean, new, ready to work oil is an issue. I believe it's referred to as shear or shearing of the oil, and I don't know its full implications and what's wrong with it, but I just think I think the Motorcraft is fine. I don't think T6 is as terrible as Warren Diesel's made it out to be, but Warren Diesel's really kind of taken a pretty strong stance against Rotella. Schaefer gets a lot of great reviews, and I wouldn't mind trying it. That said, do I expect to see a significant difference? Absolutely not. No way. I am still a big fan in Arch Oil. I think that's quality product. I think that can help long term, but I don't think, like I said, I think the biggest issue and people seeing oil related issues comes more from people not changing it at the appropriate intervals, pushing a 5,000 mile oil change to 7,500 miles or 10,000. I think that's the biggest issue. Now, do I think it's an issue if you're really good about being within, let's say, 100 miles of your 5,000 mile oil change, and that one time or here and there it goes to 6,000? No. It is the people that are consistently pushing duration of oil changes further and further and further out, especially in these HUE injection systems. It is a little different when we get to 6.7s and common rails, although I still think it is vitally important because a lot of people saw increased failures with 10,000 mile oil change intervals. So even though oil technology continues to progress and get better, we're still not at a point that I think it's a good idea to take a truck that's producing the kind of power, dealing with the kind of wear and like abuse that is modern day diesel. I just don't think it's a good idea to really be pushing it. In my opinion, I could be wrong. I have no scientific evidence to back this up. I've been driving diesels for over 10 years now, and based on my observation essentially and research. And oh yeah, and this is Doom just brought up a really excellent point. Make sure you're using OEM filters. Stop trying to cheap out on your oil filter and get this, well, I got a 3-pack for the same cost as one. That is not going to replace the cost of a set of injectors when they're not doing their job correctly. Now, Wix filters with their different cap on, this is a big topic as well. The Wix filter with the Wix cap, not a problem. It's a good filter. From all the research I've done, the issue comes when people try to reuse the Wix cap with an OEM filter. That can give no start issues, not in every instance, but it can. And not all of your oil gets filtered then. So it can be a big issue. Just be careful. Six, 7 will run great for 8 hours on Rotella, then the temperatures jump about 10 degrees. Really, I didn't. So you get worse temperatures with Rotella in a 6.7 than you do motor. I mean, I've never used anything but Motorcraft in a 6.7. I believe is it a 30-10 oil? That is typically what they recommend. It's different than what they recommend in a 6.0. 6.7 Powerstroke oil requirements. Or 30-10. 10W30 for normal use. A 5W40 for severe. You can use a 1540, which I think is the Powerstroke or the 6.0 one. Let's check that next while we're here. 15W40 is the 6.0 one. Yep. There was somebody that was releasing an oil that they said that had essentially tried to have all the additives like an arch oil in it already. I can't remember what brand that was. Power driven diesel, maybe. I want to say power driven diesel. Don't quote me on that, but I thought they had one that they kind of claimed to be superior to all other ones because they had all these additives in it. Switch to Schaefer's from Rotella because of Warren. Yeah, I mean, if you have newer injectors and you get them and you're good about your oil changes, I think where a lot of people have issues is they got a truck that someone else didn't maintain the injectors well, and now they're dealing with that issue on top of everything else. I still like arch oil nonetheless. I'll still probably continue to use it, but I don't think it's as big of a deal if you're on top of your maintenance. That's a cool thing, Mongoose. I didn't realize that you could see a difference, and I'm kind of shocked, to be honest, in temperatures from the oil change. Nick, that's cool that you had a power steering unit, or I'm assuming that's what your PS / hydro means. That a little arch oil in there helped quiet it up a bit. Yeah, Schaefer's is definitely good oil, and I would like to try it in the very near future. Oh, that's your 6.7s in the RV. It's a pretty awesome RV. I've never tried AMSOIL. I do get a lot of questions about AMSOIL, but I just don't know enough about it. Flexolite fan setup for a 6.0. It will give you issues. Your truck will overheat. It is really meant for racing. A lot of people, they just can't pull in the same amount of they just can't pull in enough air. Those two small fans, they're just not capable enough. I'm not saying they're necessarily a bad thing, but it's really meant to be more of a racing thing than necessarily a actually driving around using the truck thing. Yeah, Doom, I'm due for an oil change on the 6.7 here in another week or two. Although it might be my trip. If I take my trip to New York tomorrow, that might be enough to finish that off, and might be due for one this week or this coming week. I would like to try Schaefer's in the 6.0. I'm not so sold on really messing with it. In my 6.7. Not that it's under warranty, it's a 2016, it's out of warranty, even though it's not quite 50,000 miles, but yeah, not about it in that one. But Schaefer's has my attention. I would like to try it in the 6.0 once it's back. I have the Banks Data Monster for monitoring gauge. I'm considering trying Banks for tuning on the 6.7, at least initially. What I end up with and stay with, I'm not 100% sure, but that's the loose idea at this point. No, I would not go 7.3 setup in the 6-liter. I would keep a factory 6-liter fan clutch, and if I needed to have a little more while towing, I would do a blue spring mod. I can't remember if we talked about this. I would make sure to double check my radiator, make sure it's not clogging, health of my oil cooler, make sure I'm not running it. I think you're in California and probably on a stock tune if I remember right. But if you are tuned, making sure you're running a tow appropriate tune would be very important as well to make sure that things aren't getting carried away. So sorry, just got one more text I got to answer to. But that would be I'm just kind of against the 7.3 fan clutch. I don't think it's that great. I think it's overrated. I'm not saying the parts themselves are not high quality. I just think it's kind of a silly thing to do when you can still give yourself the same soft code except wire in and actually turn your fan on full blast when you need it and then cut it off when you don't. I think that's a much better route to go than what they're currently doing with the 7.3 fan clutch. Some people love it though. I will say that. I just think it goes on too early. It's not designed to work on the 6-liter. I think it's not a great answer to the problem, and I don't think the problem's as bad as a lot of people have made it. Do I wish we had a little more control when we from factory? 100%. What's the normal trans temp on a 6.0? 175 is not bad. It's about 25 degrees hotter than my truck ran, unless I was towing. And even then, the only time in my 6-liter I noticed a difference was actually when I was letting the transmission do long periods of helping slow my load down. So if I was driving down like a mountain, like I said, my trip from my house to New York is very, very mountainous. It's a real big pain in the butt. As that transmission's braking, that would heat it up, and I believe it was to about 175 actually while doing that, and that's with 13,000 pounds. It might be time to change filters. It might be time to get fresh fluid in there. Don't flush the system. You do drain and fills. You drain the transmission fluid out, put the plug back in, put new transmission fluid in, and call it a day. I didn't know that. That's cool. They're on 550 and 600 chassis. That's cool. When you say 600, do you mean the 650 chassis? Yeah, absolutely, man. Glad I can give it to you. And plus that stuff's kind of expensive to get. Like, I don't remember it being cheap because you need to get a different fan clutch. There's a new F600 that I don't know about. What? Well, shoot, don't I need a new pickup all of a sudden? That's kind of cool. The 650 still looks freaking killer. I wish Ford wasn't ruining the look of the truck. Did you guys hear about the new 6.8 gas engine coming out as well for the Super Duties? But so, guys, what's everyone think? I know some of my content right now isn't the most exciting. The plan is to kind of get some more exciting stuff out there. You're going to have basically me running my mouth about cheap parts uh, coming up here in a minute. And by a minute, probably early this week. I'm going to put airbags on the 6.7. I have an air compressor kit that a company sent out going on that. A lot of the performance stuff is coming once the 6.0 is back. I do have some plans for the 6.7 and some things I'd like to review, but most of that's going to be going to wait until we actually get the 6.0 back. That's cool that they did the F600 and it keeps you out of the commercial market as well, because that can be a bear for like the average person running around. I bet it's got a crazy weight rating though at the same time. I'm trying to think. I don't mind towing. I don't know that I'd want motorsports. I can do that, brother. I will definitely make sure content keeps coming. We will definitely get into some really cool stuff coming, and I'm excited for this year. The goal is to, by the end of the summer, is to get views back to where they were, which, if I remember correctly, was about 70,000 a month. We were doing. I need to double check that. We're about 40,000 right now. Some months have been high 30s recently, but again, I've been absent. So the goal is to get views way back up where they were, get the live stream really rolling where it used to be, and really just get some great content out to everybody. I'm very, very excited. We have 6 months left of this year to kind of really end on a high note, and that's what we're gonna do. So also, and we'll have some stuff that's different. Like, I don't expect everyone to be into my nerdy video I'm gonna put out in the next month or so about me building my PC. And I'm selling part of it to build a different one because I want to do a full custom water cooling loop, which sounds ridiculous, but I'm looking at my computer because it's right here. You can see the red RGB light coming off on me there. But lots of cool stuff coming. Most of it being truck content, a little bit of my nerdiness over here, but this nerdiness right beside me is also what is going to let me really edit some high quality videos. We're going to actually this summer, if everything goes according to plan, we'll be upgrading our camera setup to start shooting in 4K video and getting that stuff out to people. So still lots of plans coming. I tried the 7.3 and 6.0 is better. Yeah, Mongoose, I agree. I think the 6.0 fan overall is better. It's meant to work with the System 1, and I don't know. I don't like that 7.3 fan clutch on the 6.0. Just keep calm. For a second, I thought I saw my pup. Somebody asked about my pup earlier. Excuse me, sorry. I was just gonna say something similar, Sean. I had a sensor in my 6.0. I had a sensor go bad in my transmission at one point. So they replaced the sensor. Problem completely went away. Now it was like like setting off the transmission alarm for temp, and I'd get a check engine light, and my gauge would get maxed out, then it would go all the way down, then it would settle for 5 minutes where it needed to be, then it'd be all the way high again. Now that was before I was really monitoring the number, so I don't actually know what it was doing at that time, whether it was staying close or whether I saw a steady increase over time. But you should not be having 175 just driving. Anyone using the Banks rear diff cover. I do think the Banks rear diff cover is probably one of the best ones out there, but I don't like it. Again, I think it's probably the best. I just don't like it. So, yeah, so it could still be your sensor coming from your SCT, because your SCT is only reading the value. It's not actually a sensor within the SCT. It's just reading the factory sensor and giving you a nice display to see it on. So, guys, I can't thank everybody enough for the support and aesthetically or performance. I think it is the best performing one, or at least is very likely. I also think it is like obnoxiously oversold by Banks. Like, oh my gosh, watching that video series when he was doing it was one of the most annoying things I ever did. It was interesting, but if he could quit all the jabs at every other company out there, people have only been using these other aftermarket diff covers for like 20 years with zero repercussions, and he comes along to save all of our rear axles. It was just kind of annoying how he felt the need to completely try to it was beyond normal marketing. It was very frustrating for me to see, especially because I know that guy's smart. Like, he's a very smart person. Is he correct in it to a degree? Yes. Is it completely oversold and exaggerated? Also, yes. I've never heard of someone losing a rear end because they used a MagTech or a Mag High Tech rear diff cover ever. That's probably one of the ones I'll go on. I actually want to do. Let's see if I can quick find it here. We are going to be closing the live stream down here shortly. F250 rear diff cover. There used to be a Ford Performance one. There's a Dorman one. I don't want the Dorman cover. What kind of nonsense? The Dorman cover looks just like the Ford one, and it looks nice. I can't even act like it's not. Well, I guess we'll just take this. Where was it? This is actually, that's only for 2010. I guess I should put the year in. There was like a nice Ford rear diff cover that I liked. I thought it looked good. It had a round back, so Banks would be happy. We got to keep him happy. This is the one I like. I'm going to give you guys a link. It is technically an affiliate link if you guys buy it. It's the 6.4 finned rear cover. That's the one I'm looking at. I want to put that on probably both of my trucks. I'll probably let one of them run one of the Mag High Tech ones. I think they look nice too, but I do really like the look of this one. I think it looks killer. There's a bug flying on me. So does Motorcraft sell injector rebuild kits for 6.0s? Eric, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if anyone sells injector rebuild. I shouldn't say that. I have seen some people talk about it. Dynamite Diesel is the one that I saw components for, and I've heard a lot about them over the years. That's probably who would be one of your resources. I would Google it and just do research on it. Yeah, Sean, one of my trucks is going to run that because I believe they're the same rear end through most of them. There shouldn't be any issue using it on other years. So, all right, guys, I am going to just throw this out there. We're in the last 5 minutes here. We're going to cut this off at 2 hours and 45 minutes. Do not worry, though, guys, because we are officially back. You don't have to worry that it's going to be forever before we do this again. It's going to be about a week, and we're going to do this again. I do plan to do one on like a Sunday night and one some point during the week once we're like truly have a nice schedule down. I just haven't picked it all. But we are going to no, it's not going to be a month, it's going to be a week. And the goal is to get a video out prior to the next live stream. Unless I do it early, there's a slim chance it could be Monday night, but it'll probably be a different day. The goal is I want to do a time during the week, like maybe a 5 p.m. live stream, like 5 to 8:30, because then I go to the gym after that. But I want to try to make sure I'm getting as many people involved in at least a live stream every other week. So you guys are going to see me. We got content coming out. Again, it's not crazy yet. Yeah. So I'm Pennsylvania. So, yep. New York time zone guys will get you our time here. So I'm gonna try a couple different things, but the goal is that at least once a week we get a live stream, we get a YouTube Shorts video, which has to be under a minute, but we're gonna try to do that, and then a regular length video as well. What do you mean a complete 6.0 build? Like, I mean, essentially my 6-liter is really a complete build, but we changed stuff up on it. So do you mean like just take a factory truck and just do an entire build front to back that we're going to do and send it off? I haven't done that. I would be interested in doing that. Actually, my new sponsor, DSD, Diesel Solution Distribution, we were talking about at some point if somebody wanted something done, cutting them like a ridiculous rate on labor to basically, and he'd have to like buy the parts through DSD, which we could work on something as far as a deal. But basically filming that. So I mean, it would be cool if somebody was looking to do that and we could just kind of build front to back everything that we wanted to do, because that would give a lot of content and it'd be a lot of fun to do, and somebody would get a heck of a deal. But that's nothing we're at a point that to like really investigate further. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by build, because technically I'm on the second engine build of my 6.0. I'd say they were both complete builds. They're pretty extensive, but I haven't like built an engine like, here's my engine, let me build it. I want to at some point. Everybody, I hope everyone has a good, safe weekend. Have a lot of fun. I can't thank you all again enough. It's great getting to see everybody and having everybody back. And the live chat was very busy, which is a lot of fun for me as the guy hosting this, because you guys really drive how this really goes. So short block rebuild, no, I'm not saying it's never a possibility, but at this point in time, I just can't justify the financial means of doing it just to do it. It would be a lot of fun. I want to build an engine at some point, and I don't think they're They're terrible to do. I also don't necessarily like, I know somebody that has the skill that could help, but I don't know how practical it would be. It would be cool to do a step-by-step how-to. Maybe get like a junkyard and 6-liter that needs redone. Could be a cool build sometime. Everybody, again, thank you for just the support and coming back and hanging out. It's been so much fun. I do look forward to doing this very soon. Again, guys, about a week is the most you have to wait, so not too long. I watched every one of the 6.0 bros. Hey, Joseph, how the heck are you doing, man? Good to see you. Can't wait for more live stream. Yeah, dude, Joseph, we are back, man. Sad to see you just here at the very end, but it is good to see you on the channel, man. Again, we have one of the coolest communities here, and I think what we have here on the channel is just an awesome experience for everybody. So thank you, everybody. Please have a good night. Thank you for tuning in, especially on your Friday night when a lot of time people are out doing other things. So, oh man, you guys, it sounds like some of you guys have a great weekend planned. So I hope everyone has a great, safe weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream. It's coming very soon. So everybody take care. I'll see you in the next one.